Hey there, and welcome to my channel, The Paper Bag Investor. Today I want to talk about space stock. Is space stock a buy? By space stock, I mean Virgin Galactic. Is Virgin Galactic a buy? I'm going to discuss this and some of my thoughts about it. So let's get into it. So first off, I want to say I've heard about this stock, read a little bit about it. I have a friend who's really into this stock. And overall, I've actually been very skeptical about it, but doing some research here recently, it's starting to warm up to me. And the reason I've been skeptical about it, the main reason is that I'm a huge Elon Musk fan, I'm a big SpaceX fan, and basically in my mind I've thought, well, if there's going to be space tourism industry, you can either go with the company Virgin Galactic, that is a suborbital company, which means they can't actually send anything into orbit. Their spacecraft just goes up to the sort of the outer edge of space and then comes back down to Earth. Or there's going to be the competitor company called SpaceX that can actually send anything up into orbit, could even go in the future multi-planetary trips, and is revolutionizing the space industry because they have the ability to actually land their rockets, which can greatly reduce the cost to launch. So in this sort of quick argument, it says, well, why would you even bother with Virgin Galactic when there's a company like SpaceX out there? And if there's money to be made in space tourism, there's reason to believe that SpaceX will capitalize on that opportunity. But I've done more research, and I think this argument's not completely solid, and I'm going to explain why in this video, why Virgin Galactic is warming up to me. I also want to say really quickly that I'm not a financial advisor. You should do your own research, your own thinking. You have your own personal financial situation. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a guy with a paper bag on his head who loves investing and thinking about the future. And if you love investing and thinking about the future and you're watching this video and you're enjoying this video, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button down below and follow along with me on my journey and become a better investor. Okay, back to Virgin Galactic. What is Virgin Galactic? They're a company that IPO'd in October 2019, so a very new company. And really their plan is they want to revolutionize space transport and make it accessible to the masses. And their main business plan currently is to provide flights to wealthy individuals that would take them up into space or the outer edges of space or atmosphere. And that currently the cost for the flight would be $250,000 a person. And I should note they're not doing any flights currently. They haven't done any commercial flights. There are plans that the founder, Richard Branson, will fly into space in early 2021. And then it could be assumed sometime after that, maybe later 2021, they would start doing commercial flights. Not exactly sure that timeline. So how do these flights actually work? Basically, they've developed a plane or spacecraft called the White Knight 2. And this plane carries a little spaceship below it, and it carries it up to an altitude of 50,000 feet. And then at that point, this little spaceship that's connected to the plane disconnects, and it blasts further out into space. And then the passengers, they can hold 6 passengers on this little spacecraft and 2 pilots. These passengers experience some crazy G's, and then they experience near weightlessness for about 5 minutes, and then before coming back down to land. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of the customer experience that they're trying to offer for $250,000. And again, as I kind of mentioned earlier in the video, what's the sort of weakness of their spacecraft is that it's not actually sending anything to orbit. They couldn't actually send someone to the space station that's orbiting Earth. They couldn't even send a satellite into orbit. So there's a big difference between suborbital spacecraft and actually reaching orbit. So they don't actually have that ability or technology. But and this concept of air launching, flying up into at a high altitude, and then launching a rocket from there, it's not a new idea, but it really, I think it does make a lot of sense and is well suited into a commercial space flight like they're trying to offer, just because of overall, I could see it being safer and a better user customer experience than, say, actually being launched in a rocket. That it would be something that SpaceX might be able to offer in the future for space tourism. So this is really a key point that I've kind of realized. If you were SpaceX and you offered space tourism, I think you could offer a greater package where maybe you could actually go into space and maybe orbit the Earth, SpaceX, if they had the means, could eventually even build their own space station or even tourist station where tourists could come and dock and stay overnight or for a number of hours on the space station. Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Elon Musk fan, huge SpaceX fan, and I really think that the potential for them is massive, even bigger than Virgin Galactic, because they have the ability to send things actually into orbit and into space itself, and are doing so at a cost that nobody else thought possible. But I still think there is a niche for Virgin Galactic, and here's why. I think demand for space tourism is there and will grow. The world's becoming wealthier and wealthier, and if you had the means to do so, why wouldn't you want to go to space and experience a once-in-a-lifetime kind of experience? Actually, an investment firm did some research, and they found that they think Virgin Galactic has a total addressable market of about 2.4 million people, and that's basically just a tally of people that have a net worth of over $5 million. And of the people, I guess, they surveyed, they found that about 39% are interested in paying at least $250,000 for a ticket. So if you do that math, 39% of 2.4 million is 936,000 people that would be paying for a ticket for themselves at least, and maybe some of those would also pay for other family members if they were wealthy enough. So somewhere in the order of 900,000 people might be interested in going on their flights. And really this number I think will just keep rising because the number of millionaires in the world is steadily increasing. So I think the demand for space tourism will be huge and readily available, and more than Virgin Galactic will be able to meet. And now back to where Virgin Galactic is today. They currently have one ship, or should I call it a spaceship plane thingamajig, and they plan to build more. So they plan to build 11 by 2030. And the same investment firm that did the research on the number of people that might be interested, they also estimate with these 11 aircraft and 6 passengers per aircraft per flight. And if most planes were flying every day of the year, they could be giving flights to about 3,400 passengers per year. Now, personally, that doesn't really make sense to me. If that was true, and if they're making money on every flight, why would they stop at 11 aircrafts? That's only 3,400 people per year when you have 900,000 plus people that might be interested in going. And again, in 10 years from now, that 900,000 number could be much, much higher because, again, the number of millionaires in the world is steadily increasing. So again, the point I'm trying to make is that demand for space tourism, I think, is there and will continue to grow. And really, there's enough demand to fill different niches, whether that's a product or service or user experience that SpaceX could offer that might be more expensive but more incredible, but also more scary as a customer, as a consumer, to actually launch in a rocket. Or a company like Virgin Galactic could easily fill a very large niche of maybe a little bit less expensive flights that are maybe viewed at least as a little less scary and a little less risky. And really, if you've never gone to space before, but you have the means to, why wouldn't you take the one that's kind of whets your appetite? Maybe you get your 5 minutes of weightlessness and $250,000. And you do that first. If you really have incredible means, you do that first. And then maybe in addition to that, if you really like it, you go take a SpaceX rocket launch and you orbit the Earth for 12 hours and observe the Earth. And maybe that costs you more money, but it's more incredible. So what I'm saying is I think space tourism could be a big industry. I think it will be a growing industry. While I'm more excited about the technology that SpaceX offers, I still think that Virgin Galactic, what they're offering, could really appeal to a certain niche of consumers. Something else that I really like about Virgin Galactic is their CEO, at least since July of this year, 2020, Michael Colglazier. Hopefully I'm saying his last name right. But what I really like about him is his experience with Disney. And for the last 26 years before he joined Virgin Galactic, he had executive roles within Disney's largest segments, which are parks, experiences, and consumer products. And I'm a big Disney fan. At least a big fan of Disney and their business side and how they think about the customer experience. I really don't know any vacation destination that people literally dream about, plan for years in advance, sometimes maybe even decades in advance. My wife and I have a 6-month-old daughter, and we're already talking about when she's 10 years old and she has a sibling, we should go to Disney World with our kids, or we're going to plan these trips. So again, that's just a little side plug for Disney. I'm a huge Disney fan, and I think they're really second to none in how they plan and craft and create user experience, their special customer experiences. Really tiny side plug, if you've never read the book, it's called Be Our Guest, Perfecting the Art of Customer Service, and it's published by the Disney Institute, it's called. It's a really great book. I'll send a link down below in the description. But I read that book 2 years ago after I was in Disney World, and during my trip there, I'd just been so impressed with the attention to detail and overall just incredible experience that I had there. So if this Michael Colglazier has it just basically embedded and lived his life in that experience building that, he was the vice president of Animal Kingdom, which is at Disney World. He was also the president of Disneyland Resort in Anaheim, which saw incredible growth under his leadership. And he was also the president and managing director of Disney Parks International, helping grow operations and development of Disneyland Paris, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Tokyo. So a lot of expansion and growth. And to me, he sounds like the perfect person to lead a company like Virgin Galactic. And the reason, also encouraging to see that they hired him recently and switched the CEO position to him. It kind of clues you in that they're probably preparing and are closer to actually giving commercial flights for individual consumers. And again, this is a major point again that I want to just hammer home in this video. If you're like me and you had the argument, well, SpaceX is just going to dominate space tourism. Yes and no. I think SpaceX has more potential. If I could invest in $1 into SpaceX right now or $1 into Virgin Galactic, I would choose SpaceX personally because I think there's more room for growth in SpaceX for a number of reasons. That could be for another video. But again, I really believe that space tourism could be a large and growing industry, and there's reason to believe that a guy with the leadership of somebody who worked their whole life at Disney, they could craft a better user experience, a better customer experience, a safer feeling customer experience than maybe Elon Musk and SpaceX could craft, or maybe even care about crafting at this point. I'm not sure that SpaceX even cares necessarily about space tourism at this point. I can see them getting into it, but maybe that's 5-10 years down the road, and that could be a lot of growth and opportunity still for Virgin Galactic to grow during that time. Now, I want to just briefly also discuss some risks I see with Virgin Galactic. Number one is the execution and the stage that they're at as a company. They don't have any revenue coming in right now. This is always super scary as a stock because if their timeline's off even by a few years, that could have devastating consequences on a company that's really not bringing in any money. So execution-wise, they really have to execute on the timelines they're hoping for. If it somehow takes them 3, 4, or 5 years out before they're actually offering any commercial space flights, this company could be toast. But it does seem encouraging that Richard Branson is planned to fly early in 2021, and this switch to a CEO that has a lot more experience in this consumer experience side. Next huge risk I see would be the kind of, I would call a disaster risk. Think about the negative publicity you hear about and feel when a plane crashes and how that affects airlines. Now, also think about the negative publicity you hear about and you see in the news when an amusement park ride malfunctions and hurts people. Now, basically combine these two thoughts together, and that's kind of the risk scenario that could happen, say, if a Virgin Galactic flight would crash. I mean, it's one thing to maybe put people on a cruise ship and people get food poisoning and they get sick and people read about that and they're a little less wary about going on a cruise ship. It's also another thing to know there's tens of thousands of flights happening every day in the world, and yet it's very rare that any of them crash. But it's a whole nother thing when you're not just talking about a cruise ship or a roller coaster that maybe malfunction. You're talking about an aircraft and a rocket, and if something were to explode, go wrong, crash, malfunction anyway, and people died on one of these rockets, it would be devastating, and it could totally scare people away from taking one of these flights. And that's a kind of risk that could happen at any point. That could happen when Richard Branson flies next year, or that could happen really at any time, be it 5 years from now when they're doing steady numbers of commercial flights. Overall, though, just to sum up this video, I'm excited about a space stock, Virgin Galactic. I think space tourism is going to be, there's demand for it, and it's going to be a growing industry. I think it's a niche, a certain niche that could be viewed as safer, a little bit less or more economical than say maybe something SpaceX would be able to offer. And I believe with the leadership they have, with Michael Koglaser, if he can even make that at all sort of the Disney magic, add that to the user experience, from the whole user experience, from where you book your flights, how you travel to the space launch pad, what the flight's really like, how things are communicated, all that's part of that sort of Disney magic and consumer experience that I hope Michael Koglaser could add to it. And if that all comes together, I could see it being a really high growth, profitable company. But let me know what you guys think down below. I think before I invest, I'm going to be looking at it further and a little bit deeper still. And maybe I'll make some more videos about it. But let me know what you guys think of Space Stock down below. And like I always say, I encourage you to do your own research, draw your own conclusions. And don't just listen to me. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a guy with a paper bag on his head who loves investing and thinking about the future. And by the way, if you enjoyed this video, you got value out of it, please hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're at it, hit that thumbs up. It really helps me out. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.